Good morning. My name is David. This is week 36 of 52 churches in 52 weeks. If this is your first time here, this is an ongoing spiritual series as we explore different churches each week. So if you want to join along, hit the like button and subscribe. Always appreciative of those that help support the channel. So I've had a few requests now to attend a United Methodist Church. And if you've seen them in the news at the past 3-4 years, it's usually been pretty negative just due to this ongoing and what seems to be never-ending church split. And I think a lot of people are kind of looking in to kind of see what exactly is going on with the United Methodist Church, because it's not united right now. It's very divided. So I've only attended one United Methodist Church in the past, and it resulted in one of the most comical and best church visits that I've ever had. And it is quite the story. If you want to read about it, you can check out my book, 52 Churches in 52 Weeks. It's on Amazon. Links are in the description box below. But what happened for that week is I was planning to attend a Christian Science church, but when I got there, the church was boarded up. It was closed. So I had to call an audible, and I saw a Methodist church a block away. People were still walking in, so I figured, hey, let's scramble over there real quick. So I found a seat in the very back, just planned to observe. But a gentleman came up behind me and he plopped a 12-pack of toilet paper right next to me. He asked if I could give this to the kids when they come around, and then he walked away. So the majority of this church service, I was just perplexed. What am I supposed to do with this toilet paper? But during the church service, I came away really impressed. I looked in their church directory. They had one of the best descriptions of what a church should be. They also had an extended meet and greet that lasted, I want to say like 5, 6, 7 minutes, where it was just such a close-knit church community. It seemed like everyone really genuinely cared for each other when they were talking with each other. And the pastor was on vacation, but they had 3 members from all different backgrounds and ages who gave talks describing how the United Methodist Church had really helped to improve their lives. So later during the service, I found out the toilet paper, it was supposed to go to a bunch of kids who would come in rolling this cart down the aisle, and all the members would be giving them perishable items that they would later deliver to their local food pantry to kind of give them a sense of what it's like to give. So as a result, I was blogging about this at the time on medium.com, and I included my article with a bunch of toilet paper puns, and I titled it, "Toilet Paper Puns Are Terrible." Well, then the mediums, they had a staff who would upvote articles to their very front page. So when they read my article, they upvoted it, and the next Sunday morning, I just had all this traffic coming in to read about my church visit. And a lot of people were just really happy about it because it was positive. So what happened then is the Google algorithm picked up on it. So I continue to see a lot of traffic with this article from Google. So if anyone typed in toilet paper puns with a Google search, it was the #1 Google search result for toilet paper puns, but later it fell to #2. So after that visit, I had a number of congregation members reach out to me just to let me be aware they really enjoyed my article, but also I had a fondness for the United Methodist type of church. But over the past 4 years, especially after 2019's United Methodist General Conference, there's been a lot of tension. There's been a lot of infighting due to the traditionalists versus the progressives when it comes to LGBTQI and homosexuality and same-sex marriage. And that has really created a huge rift within the church. And for the past several years, they've been splitting, but there's been so much and it's so complicated, it just doesn't seem to end. So for this week, I wanted to attend a second United Methodist Church, but also I wanted to kind of see what it's like right now, just with the smaller churches. So I went to a small, rural, unincorporated Wisconsin town with a First United Methodist Church. Want to see what this was about, especially after everything that's been going on. So we'll share a little bit about what happened inside, and I'll be back in a moment with some takeaways. Oh, I could listen to that piano medley all day. You just don't get to hear that anymore in modern contemporary churches. So to hear that again, it was quite a joy to hear. Also, I didn't get any toilet paper, so that probably was a good thing. But then also when it came to this ongoing church split, I didn't think it would happen, so they didn't touch on it, but they briefly kind of tapped at it. When I walked in, it was no secret. There was no pink elephant in the room. I was by far the youngest person there, so I attracted a lot of curiosity. There's about 20 to 25 people here. Average age had to be at least 65, other than maybe one other member. And I will say, though, they were just so genuine and warmly welcoming to me. And a lot of smiles, a lot of pleasantries. I hope I was able to bless this congregation just due to their curiosity with me, I guess. With the church and the pastor, this was a rural type of church community. So that I was told that the pastor, she had come out of retirement to preach at two different churches. So she would go from one small town, preach at that church at 9, get in her car, travel 30 minutes, and then preach at the second church at 10:30. So this was a traditional liturgy, a lot of hymns, and I remember a lot of prayer requests for upcoming surgeries. So the pastor's husband got up to deliver this sermon. And before I start on this, I should preface, I try and be very real and very authentic with these videos. So with this sermon, it didn't hit for me. And I think part of the reason why is because of so much discussion about love. So I'll touch on why, because early on he mentioned, and this is where I mentioned he gently kind of tapped at the church split that's going on, because he mentioned when it comes to traditionalists and progressives, if you see them in the news, I watched this, he said, and it's like, that's not the Jesus that I know. He mentioned about Jesus being the bread of life, Jesus being all about love, I am love, and the rest of the sermon, about 15-20 minutes, was about Jesus being love. And I found myself getting bored. And afterwards, I had to take a bit of a mental self-evaluation on myself in terms of why. Because if you listen to a lot of Christian YouTube, a lot of media out there, we're always trying to take pot shots at people, especially other different type of Christian denominations. It's almost like back in the day, you would say, my dad can beat up your dad. For a lot of people, it just seems to be more of my Jesus is more Jesus-y than your Jesus. It got me thinking a little bit more about that, especially with relationships, because if you've ever been in a relationship or you were dating somebody and maybe they said, I love you too early, it kind of creates this awkward, well, I'm not there yet type of moment. With God, we take his love for granted so easily. And sometimes I feel, even with media and dramas, you need that tension, you need that drama for the love story to happen. No one wants to watch a movie where they're just like, all right, I love you too. And that's the movie. After the service, the pastor gave a prayer for Damar Hamlin of the Buffalo Bills. So earlier in the week, the Buffalo Bills were playing the Cincinnati Bengals in an NFL football game that had big playoff implications. And early on in the first quarter, Hamlin suffered cardiac arrest after the conclusion of a play. So at one point, you had these two red-hot NFL teams kind of, button heads in this huge NFL game. And then the next moment, the gut instinct and the initial reaction for everybody there was to unite as one, to pray over Damar Hamlin. And it was a very surreal type of moment, because you're watching on TV live and you're praying for this player who just suffered this critical condition. He was very close to death. And you're kind of rooting for the medical staff to be able to help him, but also for God to be able to put his hand in the recovery of him. It was a uniting type of presence. And ever since, there's been a lot of love for Damar is the campaign that's going on right now. After seeing that and this church visit, because the very first time that Jesus talks about the church, it was upon this rock I will build my church. And it really kind of got me thinking, with the Bible, it has so many types of symbolism used. Like when you think of a rock, it's just rock solid. Like it's never going to bend, it's never going to break. But over time, as humans, and this is evident in the Old Testament, we always mess things up. And it's almost like this rock has been eroding and breaking apart. We often talk about denominations being branches, like it's this beautiful tree that's growing. I always kind of thought of denominations and church splits more as like a cracks in a rock, more like fragments. And, with the Catholics and Orthodox, like they had their schism. And then you obviously had the Protestant Reformation. Even though they're not Protestant, sometimes I wonder with Martin Luther and the 95 Theses, even though it needed to happen, sometimes I wonder with him nailing the 95 Theses, if he was also nailing that rock in the Christian type of church, because we just keep seeing more and more and more cracks over time as a result. And with the United Methodist Church splitting, you may have this global Methodist Church as a result coming up. How much more cracks can this rock take? How many more denominations do we need? With the Damar Hamlin injury and everyone praying over him, everyone was united. It didn't matter if you were Methodist, Lutheran, Catholic, Latter-day Saint, whoever, like you were praying for his recovery, that he was going to be okay. So I think from this type of church experience, like that was the biggest thing that I got out of it. We'll put a wrap on week 36. I hope you enjoyed this video. For next week, Hurry made the visit. We're going to be attending VR Church in the Metaverse. So that will be wild. If you like to support the channel, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. But until next time, hope you have a good one.